Starting, it looks
We're
like we're
on here for
live.
8 hours.
We are live.
It's better
Hello?
than being. Hello.
Can you hear me now? All right, folks. Smartphone photography number 3. My name's Mike Sweeney. I'm here bringing the happy, joyous occasion of another get-together of smartphone photographers. I happen to be in a dry state today, which is a little more than I can say for some of our friends back on the East Coast. I hope they stay healthy and well, given some of the events going on in Florida. But I know we got Texas and Maine represented. So let's kick it off and have Mr. King introduce himself and say hello.
Hello from nice, hot Houston. And dry. Hurricane free.
Hurricane-free zone. Got it. Hey, Joey, introduce yourself, sir.
Good evening. I am
Good
Alistair. Yeah. I am Alistair Cookie. No, what's worse is that somebody's going to actually get that joke. All right,
That's
hang
right.
on just a minute here. I'm making sure I've got my mic in the right volume. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now.
There we go. All right.
All right.
I can't hear you.
Count yourself lucky. Anyway, my name is Joey Kelly. I am from Maine, and I am the man who just tonight introduced himself to someone that he'd never met before as a swimsuit model.
You were a swimsuit model?
No. I then proceeded to tell her
he's more of a model for barrels.
Yeah. Ow.
Snap. That would be a snap.
Here already. No, and then I proceeded. Well, no, after I gave up the swimsuit thing, I became the model for the before pictures for Slim Fast. So, fortunately, she's married to somebody else, so that's not going to go anywhere.
Good for you. It's safer that way, trust me.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh.
All right. So what I did this last time is I said, let's take advantage of some of the innate abilities our smartphones have. One of which is the ability to focus in very, very close and do it fairly well. It's amazing how well these smartphones can actually focus in close for what we all used to call macro shots, and now people just kind of take it for granted. So the event this last time was called Close Up, and I just kind of threw it out there to see what people might come up with, and I gotta say we got some pretty interesting shots. I'll be honest, I was hoping somebody would really goof around with heavy duty macro, but no such luck this time. Although I did kind of throw a curveball at people, and I was showing off a little bit that you can use a very simple little loop. This is a $10, maybe $5 plastic lens loop. And by taking said loop and said iPhone and kind of shooting through the loop, it makes a very damn good macro lens, all things considered. So I kind of threw that out there and see if maybe somebody would run with the ball, but not so much this time, but that's okay. Let me pull up, first of all, I've got a picture here that I want to show that actually gives the results of said loop. Now, let's see here. Where's my screen share?
Now, for those of you who are younger than, well, the other two people in this hangout, a loop is a device which is used for zooming in on either prints or transparencies like slides to make them closer to full size so that you can examine.
Well, so, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in that explanation.
The jewelers use it for diamonds.
Absolutely. And this particular loop that I used to do a lot of wire wrap. And for those of those that don't know what wire wrap is in some of the older technology, I won't say old days because that dates me, you could hook electronic components together with little metal studs and very thin wire, and you would literally twist the wire around the metal stud, hence the term wire wrap. As you can imagine, when it got pretty dense, it became rather confusing, all the little wires and studs and such. And so we all had these little plastic loops so we could see what the hell we were doing. The picture I've got up on the screen isn't to be a art shot. It's just to show what I could do with this little loop. The top shot is shooting through the loop. I was just shooting the ends of the ballpoint pen. The bottom shot is about as close as I could get with my phone before it would lose focus. So you can see that the loop, even for $10, really did a pretty decent job of bringing the world in a lot closer to the smartphone. So let's move on. Let me start with Joey. Out of the pictures, did you have a favorite you'd like to show us?
To be brutally honest, apparently they have now changed how Google Plus is wired again, and I can't even find the dang things.
You weren't listening about 30 seconds ago when I was swearing at Google Plus for the same reason?
I was blissfully ignoring you, as I often do, particularly when I'm on my camera. So I go, my first thought when I wake up in the morning is not WWMSD. What would Mike Sweeney do? Just saying. I should probably.
It should be.
Yeah, maybe it should be. Yeah.
You'd be in a much better place.
Yeah. Or worse. Could be worse. But where the heck did they stick events, for crying out loud in this?
What I did is I went to one of my old notifications and jumped from there.
Yeah, I might have. Okay. Oh wait.
While you're doing that, Mr. King, did you happen to have a favorite that you liked and you would like to do a little show and tell there, or you just want me to drive?
Yeah, drive, because I only did one because I was so busy getting stuff set up. I just took that one of my watch.
Well, there were two that were very popular, and one of them was a favorite of mine. So I will show that one first, since it's my show. I get to do that.
Ooh.
Like I said earlier, this is not a democracy.
This is a Michaelarchy.
So this is the image.
I love that.
What really appeals to me is just the lovely texture and the lighting he's got with this. You know, Thomas puts out some really fine work, and I think this is one of the better shots he's put out in all the time he's been hanging around with us.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I just really, really liked it. On first glance, you might think it's a black and white, but it really isn't. When you look at the top third, you can see a little bit of color. And in the bottom, you got the really cool black and white with the reflection going on. It actually looks like it might be a touch damp, which kind of adds almost like a glow to the picture. And I love the fact that the brightness is not centered. He's got it both off-center, vertical and horizontal. And for me, that appeals to me. I like that.
And he did something that Ant won't do.
He got down on the ground.
You're right.
Or at least he got his phone down on the ground.
Right.
I've always found Thomas to be well-grounded.
Well, this shows he is very well-grounded. Although, you know, with a ground strap, he'd be better.
Sorry, we'll get a charge out of that shot.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to neutralize you in a minute.
Oh, for crying out loud! Don't show me an electron. I won't lie.
No. Anyhow.
Moving on.
So, Mr. Joey.
Yes.
Would you like to give your humble opinion?
Let's see here. My not so humble opinion. I'm looking at this and I'm going, damn! I wished I'd taken that.
Yeah, I'd go with that one too.
Yeah, one of those things where it's like, yeah. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's so hard to play, Thursday night quarterback on a shot that somebody else took because you weren't there. You didn't see the circumstances that the shot was done. Now, when you're in a studio, or you're doing a still life or something like that table lamp shot that I posted for the last challenge, and that you might so righteously critiqued, and then I wound up, shoot, if I'd shot that differently, you're right, it would have been better. You have control over the situation. You have a reasonable amount of knowledge of the situation, and you can kind of really critique something. In this particular case, my first thought is, good Lord, I hope he didn't get run over. Because, I mean, it literally appears like he's walking out into the middle of a cobblestone street. And I hopefully not dodging traffic. Personally, think that this would be a shoe-in for a black and white, even though it is a color shot. I think it would look fabulous run through Silver Effects Pro with the high structure filter on, and I think that would that would punch up the textures even more and make it even more dramatic. I don't think the color helps. I don't think that it necessarily detracts either. It's kind of a 50-50 deal. But I like it. I think it's an excellent use of macro. And not only do I like the shot for the shot, I think that it is a very good example of what you were trying to get at with the spirit of the challenge, meaning get close to something and shoot it, as opposed to sometimes we've had photos that were an excellent shot but weren't really the greatest use of the contest. This is a great use of the challenge.
Yeah, I'm looking to see. So he shot this with a Samsung.
And it says it's an Edge 6 Plus, I think. No, SP S6 Edge Plus, yeah.
Wow, 1.9 f-stop.
Mm.
That's impressive.
ISO 42, that's quite impressive in itself.
Yeah, I'd be curious what time of day he shot this at. Well,
it looks like early.
Oh, here it is, 7:55 a.m. Yeah. It's a cool shot. It's a very cool shot.
Yeah, sun is just peeking out over those other buildings in the distance. So, yeah,
that's probably why he didn't get run over.
And here's the thing I like. One of the things I like is this may have been a snapshot, because I've done the same where I've been inspired at a moment's notice. But this has kind of a setup look to it, like it might have been percolating around in his head for a while, and the event basically gave him a venue to carry it out, which is kind of the whole point of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, well done, Thomas.
I recall a quote I've got on my joeykelly.com quotes list, which is that I'm always mentally photographing everything.
Amen.
And I think that you're right. This could very well have been one of those situations. He goes by this spot, he sees this thing, and he goes, this is the light that I've been looking for. This is the chance I've been looking for. And bam.
I would be curious, Thomas, what was in your head when you did this shot? Was it something you had wanted to do for a while, or was it something that just kind of grabbed your interest on the way out the door, as it were? Now, this one was giving Thomas a run for his money.
He's always so good. I love this one.
Oh yeah. Jose has definitely been in the top 5 many times with his work. Mr. King?
I think it's just, again, I just love the way he did it, and the way all the different with the it looks like it's a crystal of some kind, and the way the light just flicks every which way. I just love the way it came out. This is look like this was planned for quite a while too. I'm just very impressed with it.
Yeah. Joey? Yeah, wake up, sir. Come on,
sorry,
snap to.
I put myself on mute. I didn't think you could hear me chewing. Late dinner tonight. So anyway, moving on. I actually would like to know the same question that you asked about that last shot. Was this spontaneous or was this planned? Because it is so good. I'm curious if he grabbed a glass cup that he had laying around in the house, a crystalline decanter or something, and and ran outside with it to get this reflected light when he saw it.
Well, now that brings up an interesting point. So, looking at the lighting on this, the lighting's actually pretty flat.
I would say it's inside, because you can look at something, you can see reflections of what could be a table of some kind, or a pedestal table somewhere. And
there's virtually no shadow of cross lighting. So,
well, he says it's the colors of the sky and the table.
Yeah, window light probably, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Jose, if you'd like to add something on the post with some details about where it was and how you got it, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Curious minds want to know.
Yeah, because that to me, it does not look like the lighting is artificial. It doesn't have a strong enough source for that. It looks like it was lit with...
Well, I see the yellow tones, which kind of remind me of outside.
Yeah, exactly. I think it looks to me like there's a building or something that's reflected
Yeah.
in parts of it. You can see what looks like a window and whatnot. But it's an extremely cool shot, and the fact that we've all stared at it and gotten different things out of
Well,
it, is just a
this I'll
testament.
be honest. This is something that, at first glance, I didn't care for, but it's grown on me over
Hmm.
some time. Now, with that said, there's a couple things that kind of bug me. Um, if
See,
you
now you're
look at
starting to sound like my critique of my ex-wife.
no, um, it if you look at you got the corner point right here. See where my mouse is?
Mm-hmm.
When you come over here, he cropped it off, and he cropped off the top point, whereas he has the bottom points. It's the little stuff like that that just really bugs me about some of these pictures. Maybe I'm just being a little too anal retentive about detail, but details is what makes some of these pictures.
Well, what you're objecting to, if make sure I got this right, is that you want to either see all of them cut off or you want them all there.
I think cutting it off is a mistake,
Okay.
for one.
And therefore,
I
you want to
want
see
to
them
see them there because I want it symmetrical.
all. Okay.
He's got this great pattern going on from the center out, and you lose it on the border. And it's just the art side of my head wishing that it was still all symmetrical. Right now, it's just a little asymmetrical.
I can see your point there, particularly with the square crop.
And I'll tell you from experience, a square crop and trying to get all four corners like that lined up can be really tough if you don't get it right in camera. I've gotten myself in trouble before.
I can see that.
So let's drop that. And I will say, we had some really excellent pictures. Now this, again, Jose's not happy with one or two. So let's take a look at this. This one here, I think, is like the epitome of close up. You can see the pores, you can see every little crinkle in the skin, and I really like the fact it's black and white. And it's square. Hallelujah. Somebody gets it.
You square.
He's so good though. And it's one of the newer ones. It's the S7 Edge.
Yeah, I
That thing
saw that.
It has a hell of a camera.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the detail though.
Sometimes mobile Lightroom takes some of the.
It does.
Some of
It strips out some of the metadata. I've been using mobile Lightroom more and more. It's growing on me.
I
The
like
newest
it.
release is actually pretty good, but
Oh, it's great on the iPad Pro.
I still refuse to install it, even though I got the rights to it. I'm just very happy with Snapseed.
I've actually been seriously considering iPad Pro for editing in the last couple weeks.
I've got the big one.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking.
I got the one that's 120 gigabyte one. It's almost the
Yeah,
price of it.
they're actually reasonably priced right now. You can pick them
Yeah.
up as a refurb.
Right. Oh yeah, refurb. I got it when it's brand new. Almost as much as a MacBook Air.
Yeah. So again, Jose, well done. Out of the two, I like this one the best, and it's very artistic. It appeals to me nicely. Joey, you got something to say?
No, I happen to agree with you. For me, this feels an awful lot like the close-in, tight shot of like an Alfred Hitchcock film, or something, or a film noir, or something like that, where where you start with this extreme close-up, and then like a gun barrel enters the scene or something.
Right.
You have no idea what happens, and shot goes off, and someone falls, and
I'm glad you said that because that's a really good segue into why it's got that look. He's got all this negative space on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And that just visually, it makes a really great dividing line between the subject and then something that's going to push your attention to the subject. And even though it's a little bright, I still don't find it very distracting.
No, it's so blurred, and it's so abstract right there that your eye really can't focus on it. You're just driven to focus on the left-hand side of the frame.
Yeah, that's because it's in your face, literally.
Yeah.
Right. More ways than one.
Yeah, let's see what else we
I
got.
would also be curious, if you want to, Jose, throw in a couple of details. Just wondering how you shot that exactly. If you did my one-handed blind selfie technique where you click the shutter without looking, or if you did it with a tripod, or even if you use the selfie cam. I'm just curious as to what that was, how that was done.
Now this one I was actually pretty pleased with. This came from me with my
Well, no wonder
$10
you-
special.
Hmm.
And what this is this is actually a cover of a notebook that was stamped. And so you're actually seeing the texture of the notebook and the ink that was used. But I was pretty impressed I was able to get this close a focus with the phone and that little handheld loop of mine.
It did come out good for a
And
change.
just as a matter of point, I did not add any blur.
Oh,
So
I guess that loop just automatically does that, does it when you get to a certain
when
point.
you get to a certain point, it does. It's got a pretty narrow field of focus when you start moving off center. You know, it's like shooting with a 1.4 50 millimeter. You know, you got to get it right on the spot or you're going to lose it. But anyhow, Joey, you gonna say something kind or just rip me a new one about it?
Well, when you put it like that, it sucks.
Oh,
It's like waving a
yeah,
flag out in front of the bull, you know.
the red flag. Yep,
Toro, Toro. The,
and he looks like a bull.
anyway, the yes, folks, in this hangout, there's an awful lot of bull. You
There
can
is a
follow
lot
that
of
with any
bull.
any other adjective you want. The I think it is a very interesting photograph and subject, but I gotta say, it might
Here it
work as
comes.
it might work as an excellent use of this contest or challenge or whatever.
Right.
But it is not a photograph that moves me on a spiritual level.
Even with the word engineer.
Nah, I'm over it.
Oh, I'm crushed. You're
Yeah, first of
soul
all, I can
crushing.
also tell there's engineering too because I can see the eye. Um, but it's, I mean, it's very artistic. It's very well done. I'm not taking anything away from you. I just don't.
But
I just don't care for it. It's not that it's bad.
Mr. King is having way too much fun with his buttons. Yeah.
Mute him. Anyway, but no, it's just not my kettle of fish, I guess, is where I'm getting to.
Well, I
But
think I'm just going to take my ball and go home then.
well, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from it. It's not a bad shot on a technical level. It looks very good, and I'm impressed that you were able to blur it that well with only the optics of the lens. So
Yes,
that is quite impressive. So yeah, no, I'm not taking anything away from it.
All right, fair enough. We'll go with that. I'm going to take my crushed, damaged soul and go slink off to a corner somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure. If my opinion actually mattered to you, you would have hung up on me a long time ago.
That would be true. That would be true.
Oh, thanks.
But I think you're amusing to have around. So
Oh, you're the third person in 2 weeks to say that.
now this image, I sat here and I stared at this thing for a few minutes and couldn't figure out what the hell it was until I read the comments. And even after reading what Thomas had to say, I'm still not sure if it's what he said. But regardless, I find it to be a fascinating image. I'm not sure if it hits the mark for close up, but that's just me. Joe, would you like to start this one off?
Sure. I like the use of light.
Yes.
Off the right-hand side, we've got a bright, middle is mixed, and then left is dark. I like the use of directional light.
Yep.
I do like the texture. I am not, however, a fan of the fact that I'm not seeing the point of the image. I mean, I'm not seeing what I'm supposed to focus on. I'm not seeing what the image is supposed to be telling me, the story that it's supposed to be showing me, or the emotion, or the feeling, or anything. I'm just kind of, I feel like I'm looking at a vertical roll of sandpaper.
Something.
You know,
like I said, I looked at this thing for a couple minutes and couldn't figure out what it was.
Wait, you know what it looked to me? It looks like
What's that?
he's standing on top of a zeppelin, looking down because you look like if you look like
It's got that
the
look
ribbing,
to it, doesn't it?
the ribbing
got that
and
look to
everything.
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what he says about it being a crops silo in my town, if I'm thinking the way of what I think he means, this is a metal probably structure that is made up of flat or almost flat.
I would think concrete with that texture, actually.
That could be too.
But I'm
in
not a
which
farmer,
case,
so don't.
yeah,
Don't
well,
listen to me.
either way, it would have been cast using something flat to build the mold.
Yeah.
So the circular structure wouldn't actually be circular. It would be very closely spaced straight spots, like a barrel would be. That may be what we're looking at in terms of the texture. But it isn't that it is bad, but I just don't think it's very good. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be saying.
I think it's good. I just don't think it matches what the event was.
Well, okay, yeah. Like I said, I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be focusing on.
Sorry, Thomas.
Yeah, that one I'm just not. I'm not happy with. If we had put up a challenge of show us nothing, give us your interpretation of endless or something, perfect. Because it stretches off into the gray sky and whatnot. That would be perfect. But I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Mr. King?
It's interesting. Like I said, I swear I'm looking at it down an old 1930s picture of the Graf Zeppelin or the Hindenburg. But it's for once I actually have to agree with the Joey.
Someone write that down.
It's just it's a good shot, but it's for me it's not one of his better ones. The one he did that you opened up with was his best one.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Yeah, we had the obligatory food shots. This one was kind of interesting. And I'm really glad to see Tony is still snapping away. And honestly, this meets the definition of close-up. My only gotcha is I wish it was just a tad sharper where the focus was. I got a feeling this was probably handheld, Tony. You can add some notes if you want, or it could just be the fact that she's using the clip-on lens, and it is what it is. But I like the fact that it's got really cool colors, and it's kind of abstract, and it's all about texture. Joe?
Yeah.
I like the fact that it makes me think I'm looking at the side of a Venus flytrap.
That came to mind, honestly. And for a brief second, I considered it. Went, no, that's serge stitching on the edge. So
it's a quilt of some kind, but I love it.
I was just either a quilt or the edge of a couch, maybe something upholstered with a stitch in the end.
No, it looks more like something that's turned inside out, like maybe a
That too.
sock.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, she doesn't actually say what it is in the
No.
caption, which, if anything, makes it more interesting because you don't know, so you just spend time looking at it and going,
So the difference between this and the last image in my mind, where you didn't know what it was, you do know what this is at some level. You know it's cloth, and you know it's stitching.
Yeah.
The
So
other
your
image
brain is
had
trying to,
nothing to anchor anything to, in my mind
yeah,
at least.
yeah. So your brain is trying to tether yourself to it, to the puzzle of, okay, well, I know this and I know this. Fill in
Right.
the blank. I also like this over the other shots that we were talking about because it does have a focus point, or at least very close to a focus point, and that focus point is something that we can see, and it gives you something to anchor on and view the image around, because supposedly the spot that is in focus, almost dead center, is what you're supposed to be looking at.
Right.
And that gives me something to anchor on and look at and try to interpret the shot.
And I'll say this is a personal preference of mine with dealing with shots like this. I love it when the foreground is not in focus, nor is the
Mm,
background.
mm,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those techniques that, I've loved since I used to play in the darkroom, and I
mm.
still enjoy seeing images like that. The vast majority of people seem to put the foreground in focus every single time, and I like this, the fact it kind of mixes it up a little bit. Mr. King?
I think it's interesting. I'm very when I was looking, like everybody's like, I know that's cloth of some kind, and I just sat there for quite a while just staring at it, trying to figure out what it was. But it was such a good shot. But you can tell, it's great.
Now, what's your opinion on the colors?
I like the colors. I do like all the different colors, and it just makes it adds to it to me. This is one of the ones I don't think would be any good at black and white. I think this one
I would
had.
agree with that.
I think
I
this
think
one's strictly colors.
I think it would be interesting as a black and white, but I think it would also be less interesting in a way, because the colors do provide like a slicing effect through
Yes,
the image,
yes, they
and
do.
and calling your attention to different spots. And although I personally think that a lot of pictures can be made black and white, not all should be made black and white. And this is one that I would be interested to see a black and white version, but I agree the colors make it, or at least add something to it.
Yeah, I think Tony's got a winner here. This hits the requirements square on, and I think it's pretty well done. Let's see what other treats we have awaiting us.
Oh, you might as well use one of mine. I'm anxious to hear what you think of either of mine.
Well, there was one here with the turntable that was near and dear to my heart, only because I love vinyl, and we won't go how much vinyl I like, but we're talking about vinyl records. Let's see here.
To be honest, I personally think vinyl records sound better than CDs.
That's because the human brain's wired to hear noise. We like
Oh
it.
my God, that's a turntable. I thought it was a washer dryer.
No, it's a turntable.
I didn't look closely enough at it. I thought it was 33 minutes and 45 minutes, not 33
No, it's
RPM and 45
RPMs, sir. RPMs.
Jeez. I've been thinking that was a washer dryer this whole damn time. I never looked at it. I thought it was like a red LG washer dryer. Oh my God, now I feel stupid.
That's a natural state, right?
Right over his head.
Whoosh.
So we'll go from over the
moon.
head to close up. And Joey, I gotta say, I love the fact it's a close up project with the words close up in your face.
It worked.
It worked.
It worked. Actually works.
Now I have to ask,
Why?
how did you get the effect?
Okay. Well, first of all, there is a tiny bit of a story here. This was my grandmother's favorite toothpaste.
Okay.
Close up. So I knew it existed, and I knew that I had seen it at the dollar store near where I live.
I haven't seen it in years. I was surprised that you had it.
I haven't seen it in a decade at least.
Go to your local Dollar Tree if you have one.
Right.
You should find it, and I can't stand it. One of the reasons why I remember it was that it was the only thing she brought with her for toothpaste when my parents went to Hawaii when I was very small, and she stayed with me for a week, and it was the only toothpaste in the house, so that was what I had used, and I hated it. So it's burned into my memory, not necessarily for good reason, but bad. So I had seen this on the store in the toothpaste aisle at the dollar store and knew it existed. So I actually drove to the dollar store and laid on the ground with my phone on the floor of the dollar store, which, trust me, is not exactly the cleanest place in the world. With my phone sitting on the edge of the bottom shelf to get 2 rows of close-up stacked on top of each other.
That's funny.
So I am lying on the floor. People are walking up to the end of the aisle, and they're
So who's this
some guy on
weirdo?
the floor, and then they're
It's a-
turning around and walking away. And
Well, it's not like Walmart where it's expected. So
yeah, just another one passed out on the floor.
that's right.
You know, but so then of course after I get the shot and I look at it on the phone, I'm going yay and a yippee, and I'm going and I'm literally
evil laugh
chuckling
here.
out loud. People are looking at me even worse. So I worked really hard on this shit. Really, very
Joey,
hard.
I'm here to tell you we appreciate it.
Well, good. Well, good. Now, I mentioned in the comments that I ran it through Analog Effects Pro
Right.
twice, and I ran it through a pair of effects. The reason for that was that I was trying to emphasize the close-up in kind of a, lack of a better term, like an 80s or 70s TV
I was going to say
commercial.
this looks more like a 70s, honestly.
Yeah, 70s TV commercial, pitchman zooming in thing.
Right.
And I'm gonna see if I can find the original really quick in Lightroom and show it to you. Because
You're facing close up now for only $19.95, free shipping.
yeah, exactly. All right, so
Bleach your teeth white.
yep, I'm gonna share this screen out here. Hang on just a second.
All right.
Screen share, entire screen share. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so there's your original shot.
All right.
As
See,
shot.
I love this where we can see what you started with and what you end up with.
Yep.
Hey, it's
And
cool.
quite frankly,
Ultra cinnamon. Oh man, I'm not sure I could
oh
do that
yeah,
in the morning.
trust me,
Oh,
I mean, mint, cool
I love-
mint.
I love
You know,
cinnamon.
something-
I love mint, but both of them
Oh,
together.
not in the morning though.
Mhm.
Well, I do
Well,
eat
I don't
cinnamon
care
toast
for
in the morning.
you know what's funny is I don't care for all these cinnamon alcohol drinks either.
Well, hey,
I'll,
I mean,
I'll
cheese
do
is
cinnamon toast in the morning, but that's about as far as it
There you
goes.
go. There you go.
Yeah, but this is cinnamon ultra cinnamon flavor based with
Ultra cinnamon.
with the mouthwash built in.
Ooh.
Ah,
Oh yeah.
God, you're making me
Exactly. This is
sick.
why it's at the Dollar Tree. No one else is going to buy it. So,
pretty much.
I ran it through
Except
Analog
for your
Effects
grandmother.
Pro. Ran it through Analog Effects Pro once to do
Yep.
this blur effect,
Okay.
and then went back in and did it again and did.
Nice.
I think it wasn't.
Is it like an analog or a cross processing?
It was a cross process, I believe, filter on top of the blur. So, like I say, I ran it through Analog Effects Pro twice, and I think honestly, if I probably could have done it with a grunge filter on Snapseed if I'd had the option, because that was really what I was looking for. Honestly, was a blur, which I got with that one, and then a grunge type of look with the dark corners.
I mean, the blur is good, but I think that cross processing really brings out the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no doubt. This left me lacking. I was like,
It's
not
kind of
really
flat.
what I wanted. There we go.
There you go.
So
It would be
that's
excessive
big problem.
vignetting and everything. That's awesome.
Yeah, this, quite frankly, to me, is the personification of the fact that I have started to learn from you, oh Sweeney. This is, I mean, because this is how I would have shot it before. Hey, look, it's a close-up.
That's right. Yep.
You know? And then
See,
I'm
that's
like,
the documentarian side.
Right, and then I'm like, no,
Photographically correct, but artistically dry.
I want the art. You know, my art is active. You know, I don't know why I always get British when I talk about art. Yeah, I'm very happy with it as a cross process. And it worked very well. And I gotta also give props because one of the reasons why I'm using Lightroom and the Google tools there is because of this group, and that is
we
definitely
browbeat you into submission.
You finally did, yes, finally did. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, yep. Here's the other one I did. If you want to bring that up and talk about that.
Yeah, let me get to it. This one honestly didn't appeal to me nearly as much as the toothpaste.
Okay. To be honest, it was an evolution.
There we are.
This was the first one.
Well, that actually brings up a really good point. And so here's the question to the two of you while we're totally distracted. I know when I shoot, oftentimes I'll start shooting one way, one thing, and by the time I'm done, 20 minutes later, I've completely gone a different direction than what I thought I was actually going to do or what I thought I wanted to do even. You know, does this happen to you folks often?
Oh, yeah.
Or am I just kind of like the Lone Ranger out here?
It happens quite frequently.
I think oftentimes I don't have the option because of the different things that I photograph. I oftentimes don't have the option to change my styles within a single shoot because I'm not at the single shoot long enough. You know, for instance, if I recently did some contract work and to go photograph kids at a park under contract with waivers, whatnot, not creepy, just saying. I was scared to death, honestly, that I was going to get arrested. You know, showing up at a park photographing kids with a telephoto lens. I was paranoid. Well, what they did,
my own kids and had to answer questions about it.
oh yeah. Well, they did me one better. They sent the family members of and kids from the city that wanted the photographs taken, with the knowledge that they were going to be photographed and waivers in hand. And I was like, hallelujah, thank you God, because I was wondering if when I was going to get hauled off. Anyway, but because
that's easy.
Well, let's hold that thought because I want to pick that up when we're done with this image before we run out of some time tonight because I think it's an important point to talk about.
Mike King, what do you think of it?
He's
thinking real hard.
The other one was 10 times. Was not 10 times. 100 billion times better. This one,
as my kids would say, a gazillion.
Mm-hmm.
This one's kind of blah. The other one was great.
I like that term, blah, because, that kind of does fit. I think I know what you were trying to do, but I think you did a much better job of it with the other picture there, Joey.
Thank you.
This one was a foul ball. The other one was a grand slam.
Well, let me show you the original. Let's see.
Now, before you do that, I want to bring up Chris's.
Okay.
So this is the infamous washer dryer, or what I know as a record player.
Yeah, I recognize the tone arm.
Well, that's it. It was I saw the tone arm and I saw the 3345, and I actually asked Chris. I said, "Did you get yourself a record player?" And it turns out he did. This is a brand new one that he picked up.
Yeah, they're making them again because vinyl's starting to come back.
Vinyl sales outsold CDs, actually.
Well, yeah, but that's because that totally ignores MP3.
Yes,
or
that's
digital.
also that's because the hipsters have decided vinyl is a cool thing to have, even if they don't listen to it. It's cool to have.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you're a hipster at heart.
I was a hipster before there were hipsters, so.
Hey, well, just all right. When we did that, the estate sale,
and honestly, I had my facial hair. So
Mike
goes late to the game. Yes, sir.
When we did that estate sale, we had remember those back in the 70s, the old hi-fis that had the big look like a piece of furniture with the
Oh yeah,
turntable.
yeah.
We sold one. Mother sold hers. You won't believe how much she got it for it.
Oh, it would make me cry probably.
Yes, more than
So
we paid
just
for it.
as you know, just as a FYI about those old turntable AM FM stereo furniture pieces.
Yeah, this was from Magnet Box.
So what they're doing today, what several people I know are doing today, is they buy those, they strip out the amp, they clean up and modify the amp slightly, and they sell it as a standalone unit because the amps are actually pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
The record player might have been junk, but the amp itself is generally a decent design with decent tubes. And when you clean them up and kind of do a little artwork on the chassis and all that, they sell pretty good. You'll buy an amp for $20 at the yard sale and sell it for 400 refurbished.
Well, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly,
Not a bad deal.
what I'd be tempted to do with one of those would be to strip out not necessarily the amp, but strip out the speakers and put in something brand new with a nice interface, maybe like either a CD player built in, hidden somewhere, or something to that effect, so that I could use it with more modern media and upgrade the speakers and leave everything else alone.
Well, so we're ahead of you. You're kind of behind. So what you can't see over here on the left side is my Marantz, which has got my Apple TV, my cable box, and my Mac Mini all plugged into it. So the Marantz is vintage 1973,
Uh-huh.
and it's feeding a pair of Sony speakers I've got.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds better than any of the solid state amps I've had in this house
Oh,
for the last
most
15 years.
definitely.
My
Well, just like
had a 70s or late 60s, one or the other, KLH setup.
Brand.
Yep, it's a matched stereo turntable 8-track. Yes, 8-track. And speakers.
Ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Yes, exactly. All of
oh, well, I can beat you on this one.
uh,
Best friend of mine, they had it's I think it's another Magnavox or RCA. It had a color television, AM/FM stereo, record player, 8-track, and because it came out just at the verge when the cassettes were starting to come out, so it had a cassette player.
So I gotta add this. So everyone listening or watching this is probably wondering what the hell has this got to do with smartphones? So you can actually buy a dock for your iPhone that is tube driven,
Mm-hmm.
and what can I say? People will buy anything. I'm told it sounds better. I'm not sure the phone's actually capable of utilizing the tube amp to its fullest, but you know what? People
If
like
you
it.
use
They
the
buy it.
lightning, if you use the lightning with that the digital to analog converter,
It
that
can do it.
they say that the digital coming out of those iPhones is really something else.
Okay, we'll go with that. Now,
personally, I'm very happy with my Bose Bluetooth dock.
yeah.
Just saying.
So I want to go back to a point that Joey brought up. That's actually something I've had experience with, and that is the do-gooders of the world who see you with your camera and either report you to the police or the security or whatever. I've actually had people come over on their own and threaten me when I'm taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And the last go around we had was my Nikon, with the big lens. Now, mind you, I'm at the park with my own kids taking pictures of my own children. And I've got some Yahoo trying to tell me what I can and can't do with my camera, and he's going to, report me to the FBI and blah, 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 blah. And it's very difficult to peel these people off the ceiling when they get all wound up. The one thing I have noticed is when I'm using my iPhone, nobody really seems to give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it stems from the fact that people look at the iPhone or any smartphone, it's just a cell phone. Quote, it's just a cell phone. Whereas as a photographer, I don't see any difference. It's a camera. I can take pictures of whoever and whatever I want with it.
Have you noticed on the news, most of the people that send in footage of something of an event going on, what does it come off of?
It comes off their
Comes off
phone
a smartphone of some kind.
it's what they have with them. I mean, not everybody's like Sweeney and I carrying around a DSLR in our trunk.
That's true.
Most people don't understand the difference in quality, and even if they understand the difference in quality, they won't make the investment. I mean, I just bought a slightly used Nikon D3200. I mean, I've got now. I don't even want to think about how much money I've got invested here.
So have either one of you been accosted taking pictures with the iPhone or smartphone, or has it been strictly when you?
Not with the
Or has
smartphone.
it only been when you got the big camera out?
Well, yes,
No, there you go.
Yeah.
What assault camera coming up?
Yeah.
It's black. It's black and it's got a magazine loaded into it.
Oh yeah. This is my AK-40D2.
Well, most of the time for me, because I do railroad photography, that rail fanning, they don't say a thing. But the minute I take a picture at a park or something like that, it's like, iPhone, no big deal. iPhone or any smartphone.
Now that's funny that they don't say anything about the railroad, because I've taken pictures of buildings and the security people just wig out.
Well, there's a very strong reason for that, Mike. I come from that rail fanning world too.
Okay.
And frankly, there was a lot of backlash, railroads versus photographers, immediately after and for a couple of years after September 11th. There is an awful lot of hazardous, semi-hazardous, and dangerous material that is transported on trains, and virtually no one is aware of the volume of it.
Oh, I can probably tell you.
Oh, I can tell you.
But most people are not. Most people are not aware of it. And the simple fact is that they don't advertise that. And oftentimes the train is a safer mode of transporting it. There are actually things that are mandated not to be trucked because they're too hazardous in the event that the truck gets involved in an accident.
Like nuclear waste?
Exactly. Nuclear waste is one of those. So there's a variety of different things that have come through this. But what happened post-September 11th, we had law enforcement officers, security guards, sheriffs, various people accosting people taking pictures of trains in various places, and the majority of them were well within their rights to do that. And it became a big thing. It got a lot of press, and
which is exactly what the railroad didn't want.
Which is exactly what the railroad didn't want. So all of a sudden, the railroads have backed off because they realize that they've got more of a problem if they continue to push than if they just leave it alone. And it's I think it's BNSF has actually initiated, if you will, the BNSF Railfan Club, which has a card that you can print off with your name on it.
Bun sniff.
Yeah, bin sniff.
Or better not ship freight.
Yeah. Anyway, but they have a little card you can print off, and it has their emergency contact number. And what they ask you to do is very simple. If you see something that is legitimate, that is a problem, if there's a problem with the train, if there's a problem with somebody skulking around, if there's someone climbing on stuff that shouldn't be climbing on stuff, you call their 800 number, and it's like a tip line, basically, and they call somebody.
So they've taken a threat, which was all the photographers, and turned it into a ad hoc detective agency almost.
An ad hoc police force. Yeah. And but out of that whole mess, there's a thing. If you just Google the photographer's right, it will take you to, amongst other things, it will take you to this gentleman who's an attorney at law out of Portland, Oregon, and he made a one-page printable guide to your rights based upon the Constitution and all of the amendments to it as a photographer.
I've seen that.
Yep, and I used to carry this in my camera bag when I was slightly more paranoid than I am now and slightly less confident of myself. I'll drop you a link.
It's really hard. It's really hard to be too paranoid.
Okay.
Oh, that's true.
But I'll drop you.
Let me. I've got it. I'll put it up.
Oh, yeah, there you
go.
So this is Bert P. Crages II, attorney at law. He's updated it as of January of this year,
Yep.
And I will paraphrase the I will paraphrase this combined with a slight paraphrasing of your First Amendment rights. If you are standing on either public property or private property that you have obtained permission to be on and or own, and you can see it with your camera, you can photograph it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing legally underneath your First Amendment rights that anybody can do to stop you. That's now again, that's an oversimplification. There's some exceptions to that and some caveats, and there's a lot of things that go under the guide of not a good idea, but not illegal.
Right.
Okay?
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Right. There is that line in the sand. Okay. I have a friend of mine who was photographing nuclear waste on a train coming out of a facility. I will spare the details because they're not really relevant. Somebody called him in, and NCIS actually investigated it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and basically it got all the way. It got all the way to the like two offices from the top of the federal NCIS before they started the investigation. The investigation basically started and ended with this guy having coffee with the local NCIS guy and explaining what he was doing, and the guy basically saying, "What the hell's his problem here?"
Right. Why am I sitting
wrong.
here other than the fact that you bought me coffee?
Exactly. And there was no issue because he was, again, standing on public property, photographing something that was moving on railroad tracks that were perfectly.
Again, we go back to the do-gooders.
Well, right. And I mean, the thing is that it would be a horrible idea to then take that picture and immediately flash it all over Facebook, post it for the world to see. Hey, this is the time this went by. This is where it's heading. Oh my God! Hey, look at the cool thing that I found. Da, 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 da. But when you put the picture on there and you wait 10 days,
he's within his rights to do that.
He could be, but I said bad idea. I didn't say illegal. But when you wait, 2 weeks or a month, and the event is past, the issue is over, nobody can do anything about it.
Yep.
What's the BFD?
I think some of the problem that photographers are facing is just a abysmal lack of knowledge of just what's out there publicly available. It's not the guy with his iPhone taking a picture of the building that's the threat. It's the fact that I can buy a picture from a satellite with a 12-inch or less resolution for a very reasonable sum of money of virtually any spot on Earth. I mean, if I really wanted to plan something, that's what you would do. You wouldn't go there with your iPhone. I mean, that's not reasonable.
No. And that's pretty much what's happened. A lot of people also have been harassed on the streets doing street photography. Again, not so much with your iPhones because people can really not tell when you're taking a picture all the time. But they do get harassed when they're using DSLRs and stuff like that. But the same law applies. It's your First Amendment free speech rights. If someone's doing it on a public street, you can photograph it on a public street, and then you can do whatever you darn well please with that picture. And there is
no, that's not completely accurate.
Well,
when you have recognizable people in the picture, there are exceptions. So if you're a newsie or you're doing journalism, then that's true. You can publish it. But I cannot take picture of Joe Schmo on the street corner and then turn around and sell that picture without a release.
Oh, okay,
Public or not.
all right. Yeah, I see what you're getting at. On the other hand, if you shoot a wide shot with an entire crowd and someone's not identifiable, then it becomes something that can be used. So it is a bit of a gray area, and that's one of the reasons why so many photographers I know just carry a release and always have someone sign off on it, whether you can clearly see them or not.
Well, nowadays that's really easy because, on your smartphone, I've got two apps that have a variety of releases that are canned, ready to go. Mm-hmm. And the best one I've seen will actually let me take a quick snapshot of the person, and they sign it on the phone. They use their finger to sign it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty handy. Anyways, let's wrap this. It's 7:25. Have you guys got anything you'd like to share that's new? The one thing I would like to share and announce is that Snapseed has released a new version, an update that has face technology for, it'll do a spotlight on the face, it does skin smoothing, and a few other features. I've played with it. It's not bad. In my personal opinion, the skin smoothing's overdone out of the box. I tend to dial it back about half of what they suggest, but that's just me. And but to have something of that much horsepower on your phone now is pretty impressive, and even more
Oh
so
yeah.
given the insignificant cost of Snapseed if you were to buy it brand new today.
Yeah, it's free
So,
now.
like I said, it's hard to beat.
Oh yes.
By the way,
So,
on the update front, Open
It wakes
Camera
me
has
up
also
on.
released it.
so Mr. King, have you got something you'd like to talk about?
No, I just been, as I said, I've been just so busy. I haven't really had a chance to take pictures. I've been playing Mover and Unpacker.
Yeah, well, when that's over and you can get back to your normal life, then we'll see what you can do.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
especially since probably within the next couple of weeks a new phone's coming out.
that's true. Although the honest truth is I've thought about it, and I'm probably not going to do the update. I will
I'm
probably wait until the iPhone 8 or whatever the hell they want to call it comes out, and I'll probably spend my money on a iPad Pro.
I'm mixed emotions about it because the eight's supposed to be as they say, the 10-year anniversary,
Yep, yep.
and it's supposed to be a totally redesigned because they said the seven is pretty much
It
the
sounds a
look.
lot like the 5/6/6S just repackaged.
Yeah, only difference is they're taking the headphone jack away.
Yeah, Mr. Mr. Kelly, you got something you'd
Well,
like to share?
I did actually just want to do a follow up. The last was it before the last? Yeah, it was before the last Hangout. I had asked the community. I don't think I'd asked on the Hangout, but I'd asked in the posts for the ability to use some examples of smartphone photos for a 1 day of a
Right.
photo that I was running. Ironically, after all was said and done, I wound up using more of my stuff and less of that stuff just because I had different things that I wanted to show and knew what I wanted them to see. But one thing that came up specifically was, do you use a telescope hooked up to your phone?
Matter of fact, I do.
So guess what I grabbed? It was the Sweeney Moonshot, and I went, boom, here you go. This was
Try this on for size.
here you go. You want to take a look at these here apples. But what was interesting to me was that this was a group of 11 to, I think the oldest was 16. So 5-year spread.
Still impressionable. Still impressionable.
Still impressionable, but not a single one of them was resistant nor held any stereotype about using a smartphone as a camera.
And they won't. That's
And
the
they
new
won't.
normal.
That's the new normal.
Yep.
But I did emphasize that use your tool effectively. With the smartphone, it's about framing, it's about exposure, it's about subject, it's about being creative with a fixed focal length lens, unless of course you grab the loop or whatever you have happen. And I did tell them, I said, I personally don't because I don't have one, and I usually just grab my SLR if I need something to take. But they were very receptive to it. It was a good group, and I wound up doing a second day with them with SLRs due to a scheduling conflict from the guy I was working for. And it was nice to see the progression. And I encourage any of you that if you have skills and the ability to teach, try to do that. Try to offer some education, being an adult ed class, being in a kids camp. Try to do something. Sign up to be a counselor for the photography merit badge for your local Boy Scout council. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. Give back to the community and try to inspire the youth. It's very rewarding.
So a fun little story in that vein that I think you'll appreciate, and I suspect more than a few people will appreciate, is I've been heavily involved in soccer for the last couple of years. And the whole family's involved at this point, which makes it kind of interesting on the weekend. But
Mm.
there was a gentleman that had picked up a brand new DSLR, and he had seen me there with my big camera, and came over and was very politely asking for some help. And so over a period of probably 3 different weekends, I gave him a crash course on how to use his camera to get some decent pictures of his kid playing. And he used it, and he stuck with it for about 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And for the last 2 or 3 months, all I've seen him out there with his iPhone. He's kind of given up on the DSLR because it's such a pain in the butt in his mind to take the pictures and have to wait to get home, upload them to the computer, edit them, then he can finally post them to Facebook, but he can't put them on Instagram unless he emails them back to his camera so he can post it through the app. And I think that's where the DSLR folks are kind of missing the boat to a very large degree.
How do you mean missing the boat? It doesn't have the live upload capability?
There's absolutely no reason that a DSLR could not have rudimentary editing available nowadays. I mean, or if they even wanted to take it up a notch, have something of a universal dock where you could slam your smartphone into a dock, and then immediately download the pictures to the smartphone. There's no reason to have to wait till you get home, to edit or get a laptop out or a desktop.
To be fair, some of that exists in that you can get a adapter for an SD card.
Oh, I've tried those, and almost every one of them have ended up against the wall at high velocity.
Okay, well, I said they exist.
They are a hack at best.
Yeah. Well, personal opinion, I feel that if you're going to become serious about photography, even if you have an iPhone that you carry for convenience, or you carry for creativity, or you carry for the pure joy of using something simple and then the challenge of it, if you get truly serious about photography, sooner or later you're going to get into an SLR.
You are missing the subtlety here, Joe.
Huh.
And the subtlety is 80% of the people out there don't want to be serious about it.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
They just want to get pictures of their kid kicking the ball that doesn't include the entire backfield with everything in focus. And they know that to do that, you need the better lens and you need the better camera. Okay, that's a given. But what they don't want to have to do is fight the entire way to get that picture put up in social media.
You see, I just view it as being part of the process, and I enjoy the process.
No, most of the folks I talk to are not interested in that process.
Yeah. Okay, I see your point. I guess I don't know what I would do about it, except to add a Wi-Fi capability to the camera, which would then upload to the phone. But
well, Nikon did that, so my 7200's got that. Yeah. Except the Wi-Fi won't talk to my desktop. It only talks to an app on the phone, which really pissed me off.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about that is that, I mean, you go through an insane amount of data if you're uploading raw or edited, DSLR pictures. I mean, so you might not really want to do that in the grand scheme of things, but
here would be a thought for the DSLR market. So the 7200, which I'm shooting with right now, has got 2 slots for SD cards, and they've got a whole bunch of themes that you can set the camera up for, portrait, moonlight, sports, whatever. One of those themes should be social media. That theme should use one of the SD cards as kind of like a workspace, and you've already got Wi-Fi capability you can add to these cameras. There's no reason that you can't have an integral workflow on the DSLR where the user can say, okay, these pictures are going to be put up on social media, take their picture, and the camera is already doing the compression and the downsizing where you're not trying to upload a 4 meg picture. It's going to do it all for you. The only thing it may not do, except you could probably do canned, do you want vivid? Do you want normal? Do you want cross-processing filter applied to it?
Right.
And then boom, send it on its way. It's not that hard. Technology is great today. It can do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
You just need the will to implement it.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. I guess I don't know. I just don't feel that it's a. I guess I just don't see the point. If I'm gonna, I'm not in that big of a hurry to get stuff on social media. In my
Right.
opinion,
Well,
that's just,
You haven't been on the sports field with some of these parents.
well,
I hear you there.
It's not soccer. It's not just soccer either.
yeah,
When
yeah.
little Johnny is standing there with his medal, because they just won the event. Mom
Mhm.
wants that up on Facebook like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, I think also, no offense, but I think you're also looking at a difference in culture because I think there's a huge difference in culture between California and Maine. Um, and we are a tiny over
There
up
is,
here.
but the last time I checked, there's not much culture difference between the grandparents wanting to see things immediately.
Well,
Right.
that's probably
That's
fair.
true.
That's probably
Well,
fair. Yeah.
Anyways, let's wrap. I'll give each of you guys a chance to say your goodbyes and tell folks where to find you at. Joey, you kick it off.
Alrighty, I have revamped, redone, revisited Joey Kelly.
Reinvented.
Yeah, well, almost literally. I have rejiggered completely from scratch, practically. JoeyKellyPhoto.com.
Ooh, look at
Starting
you.
off with a majorly huge picture of myself.
And no
Um,
glare on the glasses. I'm impressed.
yeah, it was done by a friend of mine. Wedding shots, railroad
Railroad
pictures,
pictures, scenery. Yep.
and here is my shot that I
playmates.
use for Maine as my landscape shot. And this, by the way, I am going to tell all of you, whoops, as it disappears, this was shot with my Nexus 6.
There you go.
And it was done 6 or 8 individual pictures, and then Lightroom was used to combine it all into one panel.
Well done.
Yeah, and it has garnered an awful lot of people that have liked it.
But you realize it doesn't count because the iPhone, Android's not real cameras. So
Well, I'm not. I don't tell everybody that. I'm telling
I
this group
understand.
that, but I'm not telling anybody else that.
I understand.
But one thing this has definitely taught me is that it is important to have a website, even if you are perennially sharing stuff on the aforementioned Facebook, Instagram, etc.
Yep.
It is not. You need to have something that is completely under your control.
Yep.
But anyway, you can find me at Joey, Joey, Kelly, Kelley, photo.com.
Excellent. Mr. King, where can we find your visage when you're not
Well,
here?
you can find me on the webs. It's Michael King 4023 or just Michael King. Especially, I've been putting a lot of photos up on Flickr, and I'm starting to put some back up on Google Plus while it still exists.
That's true.
When is it going to go away? Because they're already killing off where they've done Hangouts. They screwed it up.
Well, actually, I hadn't realized I hadn't realized that events was going to be so hard to find until I tried to find it tonight.
That's why I put it in my bookmarks.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm Mike Sweeney. You can find me at msmedia.me for now, but I've got a new site that is going together called smartphonegeek.info. And the whole bent of that is anything to do with smartphone or tablets, anything to do at all with photography. It may not even be photography. If I can do it on my smartphone, I consider it fair game. But that's kind of where my effort's been going lately, playing in the world of AWS, speaking of self-supporting and self-sufficient. But I appreciate you guys for showing up at kind of last second, and I had a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
And we'll come up with some other new event to see if we can stretch our little gray cells a little bit more. But thanks for kind of hanging out with us and having a good time, and I'll talk to y'all later.